Tell me what that was like to have to go through making this big jump, believing you've kind of arrived in this place, and then having to kind of start over or pivot.
Yeah. I mean, it was gut wrenching for sure. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was a pretty, I mean, at that moment, it was probably like the worst day of my life. Uh, yeah, it was terrible. Especially because, not only, like you said, like I had quote unquote like made it. We had just launched a brand new morning show like a year prior. And things, in our heads were going well, like people were happy with it. So it seemed like even more like jarring that this would happen to me, specifically. Yeah, it was tough. It was definitely a blow to your ego. I think as anybody that has either been fired or laid off would attest to, but I think even more so being so front facing where so much of your job is you as a person and you as like however you look, however you present yourself to your audience. So it does feel a little bit like an attack on you, whereas once I got some space from it happening and learned more about it and how many people, were laid off that day, like it wasn't necessarily me. It was a lot of like dollars and cents and things that I, definitely above my pay grade kind of thing. And I was just one of the ones that made sense to get rid of my salary, unfortunately. So yeah, it was it was a pretty terrible day. But looking back, I mean, I definitely would have I would have preferred that it happened on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
That it was me that was deciding to leave because I had, you know, found a better opportunity or, had made that decision on my own and not had that decision made for me. I think that that's always the toughest, right? When we have no control over the decisions in our lives. So I think once I got past all of that, I can definitely look back and not necessarily be thankful that it happened, but I am very happy with, how things have progressed since then. And there's still been plenty of disappointments and, things that I've had to deal with in the meantime. But I think, I'm very proud of the way that not only I handled it, but I kind of moved on from it and continued to be successful despite like a huge blow to your career and your ego.
No, I can imagine that because it's interesting, Jaymee, even as I'm looking at you, it's like I can see you reliving it a little bit in your head. And it's interesting how those moments in our lives kind of take us back. And when you think about, the lessons that you learn from it,
Mhm.
that you could share with others, because as you said, that was a huge blow to your career. Some people could have said, well, maybe I'm just going to give up on media altogether,
Mhm.
or maybe this isn't meant for me, or what is this trying to teach me? So when you look back, what would you say were the lessons or the things that you took away from that experience?
I mean, I would say, nothing in life is guaranteed. Even if you have a guaranteed contract.
So good. That's so good.
I mean, it's so true. I was very lucky also, as a side note, I was under contract. So I did continue to get paid until that contract ran out. So that was definitely a saving grace for me because I did have some time to figure it out. But I also think, I mean, I've said this, before in this interview, life doesn't go according to plan. And yeah, I do think that sometimes that's a good thing. Because I think back to some of my thoughts of what my plan was going to be, and yeah, like I don't, I don't want that life of whatever I thought that it was going to be. Like I'm happy with my life now. So, yeah, I think for sure those are a couple of things that I knew, but I had never really gone through. I had never been fired. I'd never been laid
Mhm.
off, and I had a colleague, at the time tell me like, if you've Like if you haven't been like fired or laid off in this business, like you're just getting started or something. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but
I heard that many a times because I knew
yeah.
tons of people who
Yeah.
had been laid off and gone through that in the industry for sure, for sure.
Yeah. So the fact that that was my first time going through it, it's pretty terrible. But at the same time, like think about how lucky I was that I had all these other opportunities that didn't end that way, you know, that ended in me deciding to move on to the next bigger opportunity. So yeah, like definitely took some soul searching, and I still have a lot of self-doubt over it, but I think, you know, getting past that is only going to make you a stronger and better person.